Season of Defiance is finally coming to an end, and Lightfall has brought us some incredible builds with this season, with the introduction to the new Darkness subclass Strand, as well as the new Buildcrafting 2.0 system with new and updated mods, new subclass fragments, and a load of buffs towards exotic armor. So in this video we're going to break down what I believe are the top 3 builds from this season, Season 20, that you should have pre-made ready for next season, for Season 21, or Season of the Deep. And these builds are optimized for usage next season, with some of the buffs and nerfs coming along. So of course, our number 1 build would usually be the Starfire Fusion build, but with its nerf coming, this will no longer be in our top 3. All individual builds will be linked if you want to use them for the remainder of this season, so you can find them below with dim links or in the top right card section of the video. Now, as this is our top 3, I will showcase the build's full potential in their current state as of Season 20, but with a few slight changes as I mentioned, so that they can be optimized for usage next season. By this I mean they won't heavily rely on specific artifact perks from each seasonal artifact, so any perks you do get next season will only make these builds much better and stronger. So guys, sit back and relax, be sure to leave a thumbs up to show your support, and consider subscribing because you're awesome. And now let's begin our top 3. Roll the intro. Now firstly, I will mention that the full playlist of all builds from Season 20 are linked down below, so if you want a good build to use right now for the remainder of this season, then that playlist will have your back. So feel free to check it out when you get a chance, because you might just find your new favourite build. But next week and onwards, we will be starting our new Season 21 build playlist, which will have all the latest builds coming out updated for Season of the Deep, with all the new buffs and changes, as well as the new artifact perks, so keep an eye out here on the channel for that, so that you don't miss out on the latest builds. Now with our top 3 builds here, I will point out what I think are the best builds so far for each class, and give you my mod recommendations that you should use for next season. So this is sort of like a base template, and then next season you can use new mods and artifact perks, and then go ahead and apply them to make those builds even stronger than they already are. So first up, in 3rd place, we have the Warlock Solar Sunbracer build. Now before the news came out about Starfire being nerfed, that build would have originally taken the 1st place in our top 3, but because of that, the 2nd next best build in my opinion is the Sunbracer Solar build. So with this build, you're going to take the Solar subclass on the Warlock to a whole new level. You're going to get unlimited grenades, and when I say unlimited, I mean literally infinite grenades, assuming you're using the build the way it's supposed to be used, and this build is just so good that you can just light up everything. It's probably the most effective ad clearing build in the game, due to its infinite solar grenades that are buffed from multiple sources. And not only that, with this build you're also going to get ×2 restoration, which just makes you pretty much unkillable, and you're also going to get faster supers and generate a ton of orbs too. And the best part about this build is that it doesn't rely on seasonal artifact perks, so you can use this in every season and any season that you want to, and this build can only get better with new potential artifact perks next season and the season after that. So a quick example of how this build works is you'll first use your solar melee ability to get a kill, which will trigger these Sunbracers. You'll then consume the first grenade to get the heat rise, and ideally Phoenix dive to the ground so you can get restoration ×2. Then from here you'll just go around spamming grenades infinitely while in the air, which will give you your melee back, get another kill and then repeat. This build is ideal for solo play when you're not with a team, because sometimes it can be inconsistent, especially if your team are getting the final blows and not you with your melee ability. Otherwise it's a pretty good build anyway, and it's really effective for ad clearing. So to set this one up, and there will be dim links down below for all builds too, is you'll first want to use the Sunbracer's exotic arms. This will increase the duration of solar grenades, and solar melee kills will grant unlimited grenades for a short time, so you will want to throw on these solar grenades in this subclass to make that work. Then we'll be using the Well of Radiance super, but you can use either, it doesn't really matter. I just prefer the Well in general. Then for the class ability, you want the Phoenix dive. This is so that we can get restoration ×2 and the cure. The Celestial Fire melee, again you can use either, but sometimes they can be inconsistent if the Scorch effect gets the final blow and not the melee ability itself. Otherwise, aspects we have are going to be Touch of Flame to improve our solar grenades, and Heat Rises to get infinite melees while getting kills in the air, and then our restoration effects while using our class ability with Heat Rises active. As for the fragments, we have Ember of Empyrean so that we can get longer lasting effects, Ember of Singeing so our class ability recharges faster when we scorch enemies, Ember of Resolve so we get health on every grenade kill, and then Ember of Solace so our radiant and restoration effects last longer. As for mods, we have Ashes to Assets in the helmet with a Dynamo for faster supers, in the arms we have a Firepower to spawn orbs, and Momentum Transfer to get melee melee energy when causing damage with our grenades. Chest armor we have our damage resist mods, legs we have a bunch of cooldown mods, and then in the class we have again more cooldown mods using distribution and bomber. Now despite this being an infinite grenades build, I would still run 100 discipline and ideally recovery as your focus stats, mostly because on a rare chance that you do mess up and lose your abilities, having some grenades thrown is better than none at all, and overall it just helps the build flow a lot better. Either run 100 discipline or 100 strength. This is what the mod screen looks like if you want to directly copy it, but as I say, there are dim links down below anyway as well. Now in second place we have our Infinite Suspend Titan Strand Build, and boy does this suspend everything. With this build you're going to be running around dominating the field with strand abilities. You're going to suspend everything infinitely with your class ability using the exotic boots that tagged along with Lightfall, and with this build set up the way we have it, you'll be able to stop champions constantly, making all champs and mini bosses look bad because they're just going to be sat in the air suspended all the time, which just makes endgame content easy mode. And what makes this build even better is that just suspending a few targets, killing a few enemies that can't even do anything either, and then just waiting a few seconds, you'll have your ability straight back. So it really is infinite if you can maintain the consistency of that gameplay loop and how this build is supposed to be used. But the way you want to use this build is firstly use your barricade to spawn in suspending projectiles that suspend targets in the air. You then want to kill them, which is going to give you class energy, and in most cases, killing about 2 to 4 enemies will instantly give you that barricade straight back, which just means you can use it all the time on every single enemy and champion that you see, just stopping everything in your path. It's so good that you don't even need champion mods if you don't want to, because they'll just sit in the air constantly and you just kill them whilst they're suspended. So to set this one up, you first want the exotic boots, the Abyant Leap. What this does is make the lash aspect spawn 2 extra projectiles that are more aggressive and gives you woven mail every time you suspend targets, which is basically just extra damage resistance. Now you'll want to run the strand subclass with the lash aspect. This is what causes the suspending ability from your barricade, and then the second aspect we have is Into the Fray, which doesn't really matter anyway, but it is the only one we can use at the time of this video, so just throw it on. Super ability, we have the standard Blade Fury, we have a rally barricade, the standard melee, and then a shackle grenade. This is just for the extra suspend if we ever need it. Fragments are Thread of Mind, you 100% want this one on, Thread of Generation, Thread of Fury, and Thread of Continuity, so that we can get increased duration for those suspending effects. You do want a weapon like Commemoration or something that can kill those suspended adds quickly, so make sure you have a good energy or heavy weapon to do that job. Otherwise, for mods in the helmet we have Heavy Ammo Finder mods and a Void Siphon one. In the arms we're using a bunch of cooldown mods. Chest armor we have our damage resist mods. Legs again, more cooldown mods with the orbs restoration and some others. And then the class armor we have a Reaper to spawn orbs and utility kickstart to get more energy for a barricade for just using it. Stat focus, you want to max out resilience to 100 as well as discipline, and that's pretty much all you need really. You can take advantage of artifact perks this season, but I'm not really doing that anyway. So again, this build is just suitable for any season and can only get better. But here is the mod screen set up if you want to directly copy it. Otherwise, let's move on to our number 1 build of our top 3. So in first place we have our Hunter Void build, and this thing just wrecks everything. With this build we'll be abusing the F out of volatile rounds, which is just going to cause a crazy loop of subclass keywords. By this I mean we're going to spawn orbs like there's no tomorrow, we're going to get infinite volatile rounds, infinite invisibility, infinite devour, abilities, instant max health in every single kill, we'll have barrier rounds by being volatile all the time, and overall you're just going to be a true PvE god with this build. Now don't get me wrong, you can still die if you're going a bit wild, but with this build it just melts everything, because the way it works is we'll be getting health on every single kill using devour, but at the same time going invisible. So you're just popping in and out randomly, which confuses ads so much that you can just sit there and kill everything before they can kill you. Now bear in mind that this is a Master Lost sector whilst underpowered, so ads do hurt like crazy, but you pair this with a good Void heavy weapon and you're good. You might still die once in a while from random things, but 9 times out of 10, this build just makes endgame easy mode, especially for solo players. So the way this build works is you'll first dodge to go invisible, you'll then start shooting and killing ads, which will give you volatile rounds while spawning orbs and void breaches. Picking those up will give you devour, refreshes your volatile rounds timer, and gives you instant max health on every single kill while making you invisible again. And then you just loop between volatile and invis over and over. It's so good, it's actually not even funny how powerful this build is. So to set up this build, you first want a good void weapon. I recommend the Funnel Web Energy one or the Commemoration Heavy one, as these are good for fast clearing. After that you want the Gyrfalcon's Exotic, and what this does is give your void weapons volatile rounds when you come out of being invis. And because our first aspect in the void subclass is the Stylish Executioner, getting kills with volatile rounds will make us invisible. So it just starts that infinite loop of having volatile rounds, going invis, coming out of invis, then having it again. But our second aspect is Vanishing Step, which is going to give us invis when we dodge. If you're going into GMs, I would actually instead recommend running the Trapper's Ambush instead of the Stylish, and also use a 6 Coyote, because although that setup has a slower gameplay loop, it's actually a much safer build when fighting tougher enemies that you might not be able to kill consistently. So that build is much better for team play, whereas this one is more for solo content up to master difficulty. Anyway, moving on, you just want to make sure you're running a Gambler's Dodge, a Vortex Grenade, which is good to use after tethering, and then fragments you want are Echo of Cessation, Echo of Starvation for Devour, Echo of Persistence so the effects last longer, and Echo of Leeching. I'm only using this one for the extra resilience though, so it's not really required. As for the mods, Void Siphon in the helmet, then our heavy ammo finders. For the arms we have a firepower to spawn more orbs, a cooldown mod and a loader mod. Chest armor we have our damage resist mods. Legs we have a stacks on stacks and some cooldown mods. And then in our class we have 3 utility kickstart mods, but you can use a Reaper one if you prefer to, instead of using 3 full utility mods. And as I said earlier, the good thing about this build is that the volatile rounds work to stun barriers, which just means we can constantly spray everything to stun and kill them. We do have about 4 perks in the artifact that benefit this build further, but even without these perks, this build is still going to dominate next season, and you definitely need this one in your top 3 loadouts for Season of the Deep. Now if these aren't the builds you're looking for, then stay tuned here on the channel because Season 21 is right around the corner, and we're going to have some crazier builds next season with new artifact perks, new aspects, and possibly new fragments and mods, and we're going to dominate Destiny 2 with these builds and evolve them as the weeks and seasons go by. Especially now the Starfire build is nerfed, we'll need some good alternatives and replacements. So guys, stay tuned, check out the playlist down below for more top builds, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out guys.